Max Olson, ESPN, really cool article that he's written. Key players that were kept out of the college football transfer portal. Max, of course, keeps up with it and joins us on 365 Sports. Max, during the time, and I know that there's really never, I know there might be a downtime where there's portal windows, but do you have like a shock collar on your phone that's attached to your neck when in the middle of the night, if somebody transfers, you're awakened by it?
Yeah, there should be like a bat signal that the NCAA can set up for the few of us who are obsessed with this stuff. That'd be great. We've been living in peace here for the past few weeks. Feel like we're in off-season mode from the transfer standpoint. So, I mean, that means they'll probably start next week, right? It never relents. So yeah, it'll be coming up again soon. You got the short little April portal window coming up quick.
You wrote the article, and it's about what teams retained the high-level players from going elsewhere. And your first one, start off with Ohio State with Carnell Tate, the wide receiver.
Yeah, and this is, the piece kind of combines players that, would have been valuable in the portal and then players that, also bypassed the NFL draft to come back for another year. And I think as you saw, obviously at Ohio State a year ago, the fact that they were able to get so many of their guys to come back for their senior year and turn down a chance to be draft picks to go chase a ring. Obviously, we saw how that paid off. But yeah, Carnell Tate is, it's kind of what you'd expect, right? I mean, we're all calling Jeremiah Smith a generational talent, deservedly so. And so, he had plenty of people in his ear saying, "Hey, you're number 2 wide receiver there. Come over here and make a lot of money and be the guy." And I think he really did not entertain that. I don't think Ohio State was in danger of losing him. But that's an extremely talented number 2 receiver there who's staying to keep playing with Brian Hartline now that he's the OC. And, interested to see if he can really have a breakout year and prove that, he is a first-round type of guy.
Max, what surprises you more when a guy decides not to go to the NFL or he transfers between, like, 2 big schools?
So definitely surprises you more. Like I think that I think it's the portal piece because I think frankly a lot of these personnel departments when they're looking at like, hey, who are the really premium players that we can try to bring in this portal cycle, really they're looking at the guys that just have mid to late round draft grades, guys that, hey, can could they come back for one more year? Obviously, like Carson Beck's like the super premium example of that, but like that's what guys are looking for. It's like, hey, can we convince a guy to stay in school and maybe make more money from one more year of college? And so those are the players that everybody's like kind of fighting over. And if those guys have multiple years, then great. But I think that when you're looking for a big upgrade, that's the big goal right now. And so those guys are worth a lot. They have a lot to think about in December and January. And I think we've seen the underclassmen entries go down for the draft, which I for years that number would go up every year, and guys would go undrafted, and you'd say like, man, it's really unfortunate. I think guys just have the ability to stay put and make more money, and I think that's leading to some pretty good outcomes.
What do you think was the asking price for those who were trying to get Kevin Jennings to enter the portal?
Oh my gosh. If anybody was fishing around on Kevin Jennings, I mean, like if you're not offering at least $1 million, like you're obviously wasting your time. Like my sense from talking to people, especially like around the Big 12, like the cost of just bringing back your starter for 25, we're talking like 1.25 to $1.5 million, sometimes more, sometimes closer to 2. I think that's just kind of the going rate. If you've got a starter and you want to keep him out of the portal and you don't want any of that mess. I think especially with the way that people are kind of allocating their money for 25 in the revenue sharing. I think that's kind of the starting point. Is like I'm sure Kevin Jennings is making that kind of money at SMU, at least $1 million, I would think. But this is as we saw with Miami, Carson Beck. Like the ones that have a need are going to go out and find out. Okay, well, who's out there? Who could be convinced for the right price to come here? And so that's just when you're shopping and you're an elite program. I don't doubt that that happens, and truthfully, when those guys start getting hot, that's when it begins. Like I'm sure when Kevin Jennings, really started stepping up in October, that's probably when people started reaching out to him.
Max, one of the players you mentioned for Texas was Trey Moore, who is he's the biggest one that Jeff Traylor's ever lost, and he's probably like the biggest one that Texas has ever gone down to get that. Were you surprised? Why were you surprised that he came back more than maybe some of the other guys?
I've got some huge news. We have officially found the unlock to optimizing performance for young athletes. Now, for the past 15 years, I've been training quarterbacks, tons of camps, tons of college and NFL players. But for the last 3 years, my team and I have been on a mission to solve the questions that I was getting about what should young athletes, in particular athletes with developing bodies, what should they be consuming? I came to the conclusion that I think nutrition is actually the number one opportunity as an athlete that you have to make an impact on all the work that you're putting in. Speaking directly to the parents, this is probably the number one opportunity you have to make a huge impact on all the work and effort and resources that you've been putting in to give your young athlete an opportunity to chase their dreams. We've created Thread Performance to solve that problem. We're launching this summer with a suite of products that are absolutely going to change the game for your development. This is just the beginning of our mission to revolutionize sports nutrition specifically for young athletes. Give @Thread Performance a follow. The link in the bio, there's an opportunity to sign up for the waiting list and be the first to grab yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there wasn't a lot of danger. It didn't seem like when it came to Texas bringing back like Colin Simmons or Ryan Wingo or Anthony Hill or like those really, premium players that they've got for next season. But I think Trey Moore, the sense was as you saw kind of that flood of Texas players making their draft announcements right after the season was over. I think Trey Moore felt like a coin flip and it seemed initially like he was probably going to go pro and they were able to get him to come back. And the fact that they can get another year out of him and he can benefit from another year of development at that program, while playing with Colin Simmons and some really good pass rushers in that program. I think that's a big plus for Trey Moore, and I think it's a huge win for Texas in a defense that, was able to pretty much hold on to the guys they needed to hold on to this offseason.
Max, what are your thoughts on a couple of the GM hires that we've seen here lately and just that trend continuing on? Patrick Stewart going from the Patriots to Nebraska, joining Matt Rule. We also saw the big splash by Oklahoma with Jim Nagy. Of course, there was the whole to-do with Notre Dame pursuing Texas Tech's James Blanchard. Just your thoughts on kind of the rise of the position, and it's kind of become star-studded almost in a way. Some of the guys, the resumes you would think would be almost maybe too big for the role, but it's been kind of interesting to track that.
Yeah, it certainly has, and I think Jim Nagy, that was definitely a wow hire by Oklahoma. He's done an incredible job with the Senior Bowl and turning that into a big time event for the draft process. And I know he interviewed for the Jets GM job this offseason. So, it seemed like he had those kinds of ambitions. So, really impressive by Joe C and by Brent Venables to get him on board. I think it's, we're going to go through a really interesting transition period here because, you have a lot of guys that kind of have the very traditional background of being the recruiting coordinator or the director of player personnel, trying to kind of move into that GM title and better pay and more responsibility. But certainly as you're seeing by some of the moves this week, I think ADs are looking at this and saying, we might need people with NFL experience to come in and show us how to manage a cap that is going to be a changing number year to year. And show us how to, negotiate with agents and really kind of get our costs under control when it comes to the talent. And so, I think those, and then, I don't know if you guys saw this, but like there's a report out there that Michael Lombardi, the GM at North Carolina, is going to make $1.5 million. So some of these guys are coming in and completely resetting the market on the pay for GMs because they have NFL experience. And, I think Jim Navy does an incredible job. But guys like him, they're coming in to make you better on the portal. Like that, you already know how to recruit high school recruits. I think I'm very interested to see how that NFL approach comes into play when it comes to the transfer portal, because I think certainly having the scouting backgrounds that these guys do and the scouting context they have, I think is going to be very valuable when that portal's open.
I know you do well with like graphics and all that other stuff. I got one for you. Why don't you? I'm not asking you to, and I'm not expecting, but you have such a great staff that can work with you as well. How about a pyramid of what it's like now in college football, of where you are with how many different offices are there compared to even 5 years ago. You know what I mean by
How many
that?
different offices?
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. The staffing needs just keep evolving, and it's unfortunate that while coaching pay keeps going up, media pay isn't going up, guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know.
what's up with that?
Yeah, I know. We're the ones giving them the publicity, right?
No, but it's a great point, Smokey. Like, I think that I think you're going to need a bigger building. I think that's just how this is nowadays. You got a lot of people who, and there are some programs that they have small recruiting operations and small budgets, and they get it done year after year. But you're certainly seeing that, like, a place like Oklahoma is saying, like, man, we need to make a really massive investment in a front office. And that term front office is not usually associated with college football. And, like, where does the power lie with those guys going forward versus, like, the head coach? I think it's going to be pretty interesting. But you're certainly seeing that ADs are taking a very different approach to this, and it's a big investment. And does it make you a lot better than everybody else at recruiting? We'll see.
Well, you wonder, okay, like let's say Alabama, they need new office space. Well, let's go get rid of the waterfalls or whatever it was. Craig, you bring that up sometimes about how everybody had these arms races of what they were making available, which was more for show than anything else, or maybe even for ambience. But it is, so they're getting all this money, and yet $20 million or so is going to revenue sharing. And yet they're getting all this money, and now you're going to have to pay a GM $750 to $1.5 million, and then whatever his staff might be. It's almost like, in the end, are they going to make more money or not?
Well, then also, like, what's the return on investment of that, right? Whereas, like, you're also having to tell your head coaches of all of your non-revenue generating sports, like, ooh, yeah, we just do not have much money to give you guys in this new setup here, right? So, like, it's a lot of spending, and like I said, will that ultimately make you, like, so far ahead of your peers in recruiting? Will you revolutionize recruiting? I think that's the thing that I'll be interested to see, because I think the folks that come from the college backgrounds have been doing this a long time. I think they've done a good job of evolving in terms of their duties and responsibilities and the way they look at this stuff. But definitely fascinating to bring some fresh eyes in this, and a sport that, I mean, guys, like, you just step by step here, you got to say, like, I mean, it feels like a semi-pro sport now.
It does. There's no question. Max Olson, ESPN, with us on Thursdays, most every Thursday. Last week, though, you took a trip to Disney. Is that right? Disney World?
That's right. Disneyland.
Disneyland.
Out in Anaheim.
Okay.
Yeah. We made the pilgrimage out to Disney, now that I'm a Disney employee again. And it was beautiful. Yeah. The kid just turned 4, and he was all about it. He was fired up. We surprised him with the trip and everything, and we had a blast.
Here's the thing you've done, though. Like, next time you get in the car to go somewhere and you tell him it's a surprise, he's going to assume it's Disney World.
He's like, so we're going to the airport again, right? Yeah, for sure.
Like, oh, no, we were just going to go to a restaurant you like.
That's for sure. Yeah, if I try to take him to Culver's tonight, he's going to be like, this isn't Disneyland. But the best thing out there, beyond the weather, was I did not take my laptop out for 2 days. So an actual break from the mania.
Good for you.
For like 2-3 days there. It was good.
Was there a specific character that he liked or reacted to more than anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big Pixar kid. So the California Adventure is just full of Pixar. They got Cars Land, which he got to meet Mater and Lightning McQueen. Got to do we stayed at the Pixar Hotel. Yeah, that was, and then the big hits for the rides were Toy Story, Monsters Inc., and a lot of Little Mermaid. That was a big hit as well.
Now, Smokey, outside the Little Mermaid, do you know when he said Mater, when he said all that, did any of that register?
I was starting to go Google Pixar. I know it's like all that cartoon stuff, whatever it is, animation, but I was not. You and a lot of others.
Are you guys park guys or not really?
Oh, I love it. Smokey, I don't think could do it.
Well, we went to Disney World and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I don't think you could do it now.
No,
you couldn't do it.
I don't know.
I mean, they have express passes now and stuff like that, so you wouldn't have to wait and line as long.
Yeah, like TSA pre-check.
I'll just tell you, Max, The first time that we went to what is now Joe's Kansas City, which at then was Oklahoma Joe's.
Oh, my God.
Smokey, I thought that you would think I was holding him hostage the way he was acting in the line, that we're about to get this delicious barbecue. So I thought, if this is bad.
Did you go to the gas station too? Like you go to the real thing?
Yeah. We went to the real thing.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Standing in line at a gas station is not everyone's dream. That's for sure.
No, but like I'm about to get you some of the best ribs in America, so let's just.
Yeah, but here's my deal. I'm impatient anyway, but I walked up and there's like 75 people in line. And they go through it pretty quickly, but I didn't know that for sure. And I know that they have great, and the food was great.
He had hives. He was getting hives.
We also had gone to 3 other places where the barbecue was great, and we didn't have to stand in line, and it wasn't mean because they weren't as popular or as good. It's just that moment. Weren't we on our way out of town? Were we on our way out of town or not?
Yeah, we were on our way out of town.
Yeah. Max, you saw the video of Texas Tech and what they've done with their facilities. I saw a lot of people reacting to that with all the money, the commitment that they put into it. We're having Joey on, I think it's tomorrow, and with what they've done with all of their improvements. What, $240 million facility project?
Yeah, that's right. I think they put out like a 9-minute video that kind of walks through everything they've done there, and just extremely impressive. Obviously cost a lot. They got it done really quickly too, considering that they started this pretty early in his tenure, and the fact they upgraded their football building, upgraded their end zone, got them connected. It's a pretty big deal down there. And I'll tell you what, when I wrote the piece about Texas Tech's portal recruiting class, I talked to a few guys that are heading there, Reggie Virgil and Terrence Carter, and the players. I know everyone's like, well, they're getting paid a lot of money to go there, so of course they're fired up. But it's like, those players, especially coming from like the G5 ranks, when they see the facilities and the amenities there, really blows them away. And I think that especially when you're recruiting transfers now, those guys are just trying to train to be pros. Mm-hmm. So if you can give them an advantage, that goes a long way. And so, yeah, I think it's certainly making a big impression on recruits. And, that I know that sounds like maybe we're hitting that era where people are going to kind of slow down spending on facilities, but Tech went for it for sure, and certainly one of the best in the country.
Well, we had Jamie Pollard on earlier this week, and we had Gene Taylor. Jamie was last week, Gene Taylor on Monday, and most of them have gotten ahead of the curve when it came to needing the money from donors, alums, et cetera, on the facilities upgrade. Like I know Baylor is pretty much well ahead. They got the pavilion built for basketball and move things around. They've got the Fudge Family Center, which is attached to the indoor, which was upgraded and renovated. And I mean, it is truly amazing what the schools and the universities and athletic departments have been able to do. Hey, man, thank you very much. Glad you're back with us, and have a great rest of the week.
Hey, thanks, fellas. Always a pleasure.
Max Olson, ESPN.